Hey everyone, it's Jamie from Independent Street Tarot and Seasons and Ritual, and I'm here to talk about a couple things. I'm going to talk about the Stark Moon in Capricorn that's happening on December 30th, which is tomorrow. And then I'm going to give a couple themes that I see coming up for the new year, especially for the winter. And so once we get through the dark moon, we'll delve into those, if you will. Um, some housekeeping. I have relaunched my website, so if you guys want to go over there and check it out, that would be great. You can purchase readings, you can purchase classes, other things that I make, and then also the Seasons and Ritual calendar is back up and running. I'm so happy. And the calendar is a 3-month calendar. It helps you hyper focus on the seasons. You can purchase that there as well. It's a PDF, so you're able to download it and you can integrate it with other calendars that you may have. But it has moons in there. It has I pulled tarot cards, the tarot scope for the winter, and it's going to be a pretty intense winter. I pulled all major arcanas, so I don't do that often, quite honestly. Spirit is definitely signaling us that we're into something new. So if you guys are interested, please head over to Independent Street NOLA, or you can find it in Independent Street Tarot. I'll also put a link below. And check out the new website. Allison helped me with it. She worked really hard. I'm really proud of it. So thank you, Allison. And then if you're interested in the Seasons and Ritual calendar, you can find that on there as well. Okay, so let's get into the Stark Moon that's happening in Capricorn tomorrow on December 30th. I believe it's at its peak here around this time, or actually around like maybe 3:50 in New Orleans. The dark moon, of course, is when the moon and the sun are together, right? So the masculine and feminine are together. And it's always that time of silence, that time, it's the void. It's that time where we can release what no longer serves us, because we get to be together as one, we get to be together as whole. And we can see in this conversation with ourself, our masculine and feminine sides, what it is that we don't no longer need. Um, this is the first time that we've had a dark moon in Capricorn without Pluto being in Capricorn for quite a while, because Pluto is now in Aquarius. Pluto actually has moved to 1 degree of Aquarius, so I hope you guys put in all your intentions as Pluto sat at the zero degree mark, because he was there for a while, giving us a lot of time to move into this new energy. But back to this dark moon. So I find it really interesting. Our dark moon in Capricorn is happening right as we move into the new year here, how we do it in our calendar year. And so if you guys aren't feeling like super jazzed or wanting to go out, be quiet. That is perfectly normal, especially because the moon is getting small. Um, and then, maybe by the 31st, though, you'll like, oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to party. And then you guys can go out and see. So, but it is important to give your time this time of rest. It is important to give yourself this time to look back on the year, of course, but really see what's been working for you and what hasn't been working for you. And I really want to stress this point with what has been working with you and what hasn't been working with you. I work with a lot of people who get out of toxic relationships, and a lot of times that toxic partner, whether it's in a business, relation, love interest, you name it, they'll come back around. And this is the time for us, especially because Saturn is squaring Jupiter, and it's squaring Jupiter and they're squaring each other until the 23rd of January. We've got to start seeing what is working for us. And if what's working for you is not having that toxic person in your life, then keep them out of your life. It does, and if you feel like you gotta maybe say okay or whatever, fine. Okay. But do not allow them to come back in. Hold those boundaries, set those boundaries. We have to start seeing logically what is working for us. And that's what we keep building on. And a lot of times, especially as women, when someone comes back around, we feel like, oh, maybe they've changed. It doesn't matter. What matters is what's going on in your life and how it's going and where you want it to go. Okay. And this is so important because this is like the main theme. I feel like that's moving into 2025. 2025 is a 9 year, which is endings. Great. It's the year of the wood snake, which I find very interesting, and I'll tell you why. And that's yin energy. And I don't know much about Chinese astrology, but I did some quick Googling. And that yin energy is female energy. And so with this dark moon in Capricorn, right? And Capricorn is the way we work. Capricorn is the sea goat. Capricorn, remember, can scale the mountains and navigate the sea, which is its feelings. And if you can see the way you've been working, now your feelings might be hurt, right? Your feelings might be, you might feel lost or you might feel lonely and you might feel all these things, right? But if your life is working so much better because that toxic energy is no longer there, that's what you need to focus on. Okay. That is what you need to keep working with. And I mean, it could be toxic energy, as in maybe you got off Facebook, right? Maybe you got off the internet. Maybe, you let go of something else. Like, we can talk about like addictions or things that just weren't healthy, right? Keep it up, you guys. Keep working that way. We can't keep ignoring our feelings and our emotions, right? We can't say, yeah, my life's doing great because I'm doing this. And then this other thing wants to come back in there. And because I'm doing good, I think I'm going to let it back in. Eh, How about we're doing great because it's not here, so I don't need to let it back in? Like what's the reality? What's being logical? Because Capricorn is Earth, which is being practical. So just so be practical, right? And Capricorn is the way we work. The sun is in Capricorn, and that's why we're having this dark moon, because the moon is coming up to meet the sun, and they're in this conversation. So I think Venus is in a semi-square, or uh, I think Venus is in a, I don't know, it's a semi something with them. It's good that I know this semi-square. And so that is going to highlight our feelings and how and what it is that we need as people. So take stock of that, right? Take stock of that and then see if you need to bring that into your life, right? And if you can bring that in your life, instead of like looking outside of you, being like, well, why aren't you better? And or your partner's telling you, you need to do this for me. Take this time to be quiet, see how you work, see what it is that you want in your life, see what it is that you can bring into your life. Um, because we've got to get back into our feelings and emotions. In this dark moon, we've got to remember Capricorn is being able to scale, right? Uh, the earth and then to navigate the waters. It can't be out of balance anymore. So that is my reading for this dark moon in Capricorn. Venus, like I said, is I can see the sign in my brain. So have a talk with your feelings, right? Have a talk like, how do I want to work on this? How do I feel? Like, what's the most practical way to keep in touch with what it is that I need in order for me to keep working at a good pace and to be practical and to move forward, right, into 2025. Um, and just kind of keep it at that. I mean, I can't stress enough uh the emotional part that is going to be coming in strong for 2025. And so I guess we can go ahead and kind of transition into that. And so we've got to start really paying attention to our emotions and to our feelings and seeing, and which is great, right? Because the sun is going to be in Capricorn until until January 21st or so. And so we get to see how we're going to work and how we need to work with these feelings. And, when we're around certain situations, what do we feel like? If around certain situations, do you get gaslit, or do you not care, or do you feel more like yourself, right? Because we've worked with the North and South Node about being our authentic self, about leaving behind people pleasing, right? They're getting ready to move into their new signs, and they'll move on January 11th. And so we understand now this authenticity. And if you're around people and and when you're around people and you cannot show up authentic anymore, and you've got to like dial it back in order for them to, and again, you guys, social graces, like I think you guys know this, how to act usually around certain situations, but like this idea, like you cannot be yourself, you're always quiet. Um, it's time for you it's time for you to show up as your best self. It's time for you to say no, I can't make it, just be practical. The sun is in Capricorn. Think of the King of Pentacles, right? He runs his kingdom just by being practical. He shows up when he says he can, and when he can't, he just says I can't. It's not practical right now. So use that energy of this King of Pentacles during this time of Capricorn season. And what I always say, like, work smarter, not harder. Well, one way you could do that is just knowing when you show up, you're showing up authentic with your authentic self. You're not showing up there to please people. You're not showing there um, for you not to be heard, right? And bring this supercharged self into 2025, right? Because you've got to see how you feel in situations. You've got to pay attention to that. And if things are hurting your feelings and you don't feel like you can speak up at that time, you need to take note. And you need to decide, well, can I speak up at another time? Can I address this later? Or is this just, I don't need to be in this situation anymore. I don't need to be in this situation anymore. Because this idea of like butting heads and this toxic masculine might makes right, like wrestling match, that is all leaving the planet. And we're going to have to watch it, unfortunately, play out because that's where we are. So it's really important to see where you are moving into 2025, because to me, the theme for 2025 is going to be emotional intelligence. And honestly, I was thinking about it, and that might be the whole theme for Pluto in Aquarius. Okay. Because when we think about Aquarius, Aquarius is uh, intellectual, and we always think, oh, like the mind, but I always think Aquarius is the heart. We have to think with the heart, right? Like the Egyptians, they used to weigh your brain against your heart when you died. Okay, and or no, your heart against a feather. I'm sorry. And they wanted your heart to be lighter than the feather. Um, and so this idea we have to go into this idea of just emotional intelligence instead of just intelligence. And we can see this playing out in a big way um, here in America on through what's going on X and MAGA and these toxic men talking about things. And emotional intelligence is not there. And we've also got to see where our emotional intelligence is, right? We've got to say, first have to, and this isn't going to be finger wagging, but it's this idea like you've got to understand where you are as an adult and as a grown up and see things again, being practical, being logical. Um, 2025 is the number 9. That's endings. And so one thing you could do is make a list of all the things that you want to have that you want to end in your life. That's really okay. A lot of times when we are in new age new age teachings and stuff, we're always like focus on the positive, focus on the positive. But you make a list of what you want to see end in your life, that's going to help you bring in what it is that you want to bring in. Um, and then I'm going to go back to this thing about the X, and I'll get over it. So the only thing, the way that I'm seeing this and phrasing it this way, because I don't want to get this into this political stuff, but there comes a time in your life when we're growing up, right? And we do believe things that society tells us, okay? And like one of them can be, the jocks and the nerds, which is what's going on, okay? But as a certain time, as you grow up, you begin to see like that's not reality. It might have been when you were 18 or maybe in your 20s, but then as you get older, you just see like, oh, some people are athletic, some people played sports, some people are more book smart, right? In one doesn't make one better than the other. Okay, that's when you're younger and you're like super competitive and you aren't emotionally mature, that's kind of like you put all your eggs in those baskets. But as we grow up and get older and hopefully get more life experience, you just kind of say like, oh, well, like if you meet someone who's a doctor or, whatever, you're not like, oh, you're a doctor. It's too bad. So you don't play football. You know what I mean? Like that that should end because you should grow up, right? You can't just keep basing your whole life on what was cool when you were 12, 13, 17, 22. And I was noticing, but for like about 4 or 5 years, like society was really like trying to jam us into like wanting to be 17 for the rest of our lives. But we're not, like I'm 46. I thank God don't see everything, like I did when I was 17 or even 30 or 36 or even 40 for that matter, right? Like we grow up, we get in theory, um, see things differently. We get mature, we get wisdom. And it's important that we keep finding this wisdom. It's important when we are in Capricorn season and how do I want to work? What do I want to work on? What is it that is important to me? Um, do I get to show up and work authentically? Do I get to show up and work on what I love? Right? Those are those emotions. And so those are the themes that we're taking into 2025. Um, the other big theme, because well, actually, there's two big themes. So, and I'm going to try to, so like the overarching arching theme for 2025 to me and probably beyond is emotional intelligence. So let's get that out of the way. Um, and then the two big things that are happening in January right now for me, actually three. Um, Mars is going to retrograde back into Cancer. That's one. The North and South nodes are going to move into Pisces and Virgo. That's two. And then the third thing is what's the third thing? Oh, Jupiter and Saturn get out of their square on January 23rd. So the nodes moving is going to happen in Capricorn season. Saturn and Jupiter getting out of their square is going to happen in Aquarius season. But January 6th, oddly enough, you can't make this shit up, is when Mars moves back into Cancer. Now, what's also important to know about this Mars moving back into Cancer, and I'll talk maybe about this again, is that it's going to be out of bounds. So Mars moving into Cancer is actually he's going to be out of bounds. He's not going to be in his regular orbit. And to me, that's going to be huge because I feel like this is really working on that toxic masculinity and bringing in the feminine energy and how we're going to move forward and how we're going to be moving forward differently because we're going to be moving forward with emotional intelligence instead of just brute force or fear, quite honestly. So put a pin in that. And actually, you guys, I think the guy that runs X is a Cancer. So this is going to be really interesting. And maybe I'll just do a political show and save everybody the headache, right? On that, so we can just stay focused on astrology. But the nodes moving into Pisces and Virgo is on January 11th. When the lunar south and north node move into a sign, they move backwards. So they always move at the heart to the hardest degree. So they're going to move into Pisces and Virgo on January 11th. The North Node is moving into Pisces, which I find super interesting. And the South Node is moving into Virgo. So the North Node is what we're moving towards, and the South Node is what we're leaving behind. Now, this entire time, we still have Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn sitting in Pisces, along with Neptune in Pisces, is holding that space in Pisces to me to get us out of that toxic patriarchy, age of Pisces energy, where there was a lot of illusion, delusion, addiction, victimhood. That's lower Pisces energy. Higher Pisces energy is the mystic. It's beginning and endings. It's that Christ consciousness, if you believe in that. It is dreams, right? It's knowing that there's something bigger than all of us. It's the consciousness of conscious, if you will. So to me, the fact that Saturn is sitting in there to help us stay stable, start to understand this energy of Pisces in its highest self, and then for the North Node to move in there, right? As we're still, and we're going to be fleshing this age of Pisces toxic masculinity out for a while, you guys. And this is masculinity in toxic femininity. It's just the toxic patriarchy that did not do anyone any favors down the drain. So the North Node going in there, now that we've gone through the North Node in Aries about showing up as our authentic self and being okay with that, right? Now the Node is moving into Pisces. So it's tapping us back into our dreams. It's tapping us back into spirituality. It's tapping us back into having that faith, but it's also tapping us back into this really, 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 what do you call it? The easiest idea of um the core energy, let's say the core energy of Pisces, which was when something ends, something else immediately begins. So Pisces knows at its core, if it writes when it lets something go, something new comes in. That is Pisces. And that is why sometimes Pisces in its lower energy just hangs on to shit, crying, always upset, can't let it go. Because if it just did, then it just moves on. Pisces is mutable. It moves on. It gives us that space. Pisces is that last sign of the zodiac. It's got a little bit of all the signs in it. It knows what's the most important. And if we can get into this groove of trust, of faith, of higher spirituality, understanding there's a bigger conscious, there's a conscious to the consciousness, right? Understanding when one thing ends, another thing begins, that's going to start moving us super quickly into where we want to be. Now, the South Node is moving into Virgo, and lower Virgo is the martyr, which is so funny. And this just came to me this morning, and I guess because sometimes when you're just in astrology, it's just too close. But seriously, like we have Pisces, which is Christ consciousness, and Virgo, the Virgin Mary, right? So we have this masculine and feminine. We have the idea like, Virgo is in its highest self as a resolver. It doesn't believe in sin. It knows that, everything keeps moving, again, mutable, again, earth. So it's practical. But lower Virgo, mind's constantly spinning, always too far in the future. Can't figure anything out because it can't get grounded enough. And again, it's the martyr. And so we're moving the node's moving in there on January 11th into this idea of spirituality, being comfortable with things ending and being comfortable with not having to martyr ourselves, right? No one has to put themselves up on the cross, okay, in order to get things done because we've moved out of Aries and Libra. What we left behind in Libra was people pleasing. So now we're out of people pleasing, and now we're going to be working on martyring, getting out of martyring ourselves, getting out of trying to figure everything out for everyone. Okay. People can figure things out for themselves. We can help show them, we can help guide them, we can put them in the right direction, right? But the way that people are going to start to interpret the spirit, their spirit, consciousness is going to be more individualized in the sense because we are in this age of Aquarius, where Aquarius is the individual first and then the collective. So we've got a lot of moving on and moving out of and moving into. And then again, I'm going to end with the Saturn and Jupiter square that's ending on January 23rd. This Saturn and Jupiter square is keeping the pressure on things, and it's telling us we've got to resolve them in the sense of maybe we have to restructure. If you need to call a lawyer, call a lawyer. If you need to call a financial planner, call a financial planner. I was talking to a friend earlier today, and if there's things going on in your life that you do need help with and you just don't know where to turn, ask somebody for help. See if they can suggest something to you. And I cannot stress this enough. If you talk to a lawyer, if you talk to a therapist, if you talk to like financial person, whatever. If you talk to someone who you need them to cut your lawn, you need someone to come and do handy things. You need someone to come help you clean your house, help you pick out clothes. All these things. These people are not here to judge you. These people are professionals, okay? They're here to help you make your life easier, get you on track to where you need to go. If you're caught in some sort of fear loop that they're going to judge or, it's not going to be good, we've got to get over that, right? It's endings. We've got to get over and end this idea that there's no one out there to help us. There are plenty people out here to help you. Okay. So let's end this idea that we're an island or whatever. Okay. If you're an island, no, the boats are coming in, they're docking, they're here, there's people to help you. Okay. So let's work on that. Let's end this idea that we got to do it all ourselves. We got to be alone. Okay. Now you might reach out to someone and they suck and they're not a good fit, then you reach out to someone else. Okay. But this is the time we've got to end making excuses to why our lives aren't where they are. Okay. That's another ending. We've got to end that. We've got to start showing up. We've got to start asking for help. If it's not coming from this, whatever, then you go over here and ask this, okay? Um, because there's, safety in numbers, sure, right? And it's good to have groups and there's good to have opinions. But at this point, we know who we are and we know what we like to do. We know what we want to learn. And so 2025 is going to be this year of endings. See if you can stop ending things. You know, start ending things. Let's say that. Start ending things. Start ending the idea that you got to do it yourself. You got to figure it out by yourself, that you don't have enough money. Like call a financial person, see if they can help you plan. Just be honest. Look, this is what I got. How much is this going to cost? Get to the point. It's okay. These people are professionals and they're here to help you. Lean on them. Maybe, we can't learn everything off Google and YouTube, even though we can try. So this is the number 9 card, which is the Hermit, which is very interesting, I think, as well. So we're coming out of 2024, which is the Strength card. And we're going into a number 9 year, the Hermit. Oh, and then I got to go back to the Wood Snake. Okay. And what's interesting about the Hermit is like when we usually read, or I'll say, when I usually read on the Hermit, it is this idea about going within. It is this idea about shining your light, understanding what it is that makes your light shine. In this one, he's holding a lantern. In other ones, the Hermit is holding a lantern that has the Merkaba in it, or Merkaba. And if you have a chance, look up Merkaba. But it's the healing, it's Metatron's cube. It's about resetting ourselves, resetting our energy. And what's interesting about this deck, I used Dame Darcy's Mermaid Tarot, is that the Hermit is looking us in the face in this one. And then usually the Hermit has his head down because he leads by his light, or they lead by their light. And this is very important, especially for this whole year, right? And if we talk about coming into the light and coming out of the darkness and, all those things, the Hermit is here and the Hermit has his lantern and his lantern is lit. So get ready to come out into the light. Get ready to shine your light. Get ready to know who you are. Get ready to maybe take time out to do some soul searching, grow a beard. I don't know. I just thought that'd be funny. But understand the world is ready for your light. The world understands why you were maybe being a hermit for a while. Okay. You have to become authentic. We had to get rid of people pleasing. We've got to go into the spirituality. We've got to understand we're leaving behind someone's being a martyr for everyone, right? And so that will take me into the last point, which is the wood snake, 2025, the year of the wood snake. The wood snake I find very interesting because it is the yin energy and it's a snake. So of course I'm going to circle it right back around to the Bible and the tree of knowledge, okay, in this feminine energy. So 2025 is going to be a big year of feminine energy. But it's going to be a big year of feminine energy because the masculine energy has got to come up to meet it. I should have brought if you look at the lover's card, I'm not gonna look for it. It has a male and female. They're both naked. Behind the female is the tree of life, and behind the masculine is fire, right? And that is our sides coming together. But it is this idea of knowledge and knowing coupled with movement. That is the masculine and feminine energy. Mars moving back into Cancer is, to me, understanding the importance of the feminine energy. And this is for men, women, no matter how you present. We have this masculine and feminine energy in us, this intuition that's our feminine, and that masculine energy moves because it listens to itself, right? It listens to its intuition. So if for just old-timey sake, if you are born a man, like a man, and um you're listening to your intuition, that would be you firing on all cylinders, right? And same with women, listening to your intuition, but then acting on it. That is your masculine and feminine working together. So it doesn't matter how you present, okay? Or what you identify as. This is how we move. It's about working with intuition and then moving based upon it, listening to those gut feelings and then making a plan from that, right? So this is really what's going to be happening. Mars is going to be out of bounds, right? He's not going to be holding himself to the old rules of that visceral um, patriarchal toxicity, right? He's going into Cancer. And I just want to say this, Cancer is a water sign. Mars used to rule Scorpio, which is fixed water. Mars isn't really out of his element in Cancer, no matter what people want you to believe, okay? If we just take a breath, okay, maybe take a time out, go sit in our caves for a minute and see how is it that we want to move forward? How is it that we get to integrate our feelings moving forward? Are we using emotional intelligence? Do we understand people are supposed to grow up and grow out of things and learn new things? And let me tell you, like living in New Orleans, it is great. You can see exactly what age a lot of people stopped maturing, especially after they have a few hurricanes in them. Okay, you're like, oh, I got it. Okay. So take stock of that, you guys. Take stock in yourself, and it's not, one thing to be like, oh, look at, old times or stuff like that. But I implore you, if you think, and like maybe you think times were simpler and stuff like that. But I remember I was talking to someone and he was like saying college was the best time of his life. And I can see that in a sense because, it's fun. I mean, I understand why people say that, but like I think like right now is the best time of my life. Like every year I'm like, right now is the best time of my life. Like I love right now. Because right now is always like something new. That doesn't mean there were years that have fucking sucked. Okay. I'm not saying that. Okay. But I'm also saying like I have enough um forethought or whatever you say that I can see like right now is where we're supposed to be. Like right now is what creates the future. Okay. Thinking about, the chucker, is not creating that was a good time, but it's not creating my future. Okay. That's just keeping me in the past. And right now, Mars is he's going to be getting a rebirth going into Cancer, right? How we move forward, um, using feelings and in logic, right? Capricorn season, exactly where we're at right now. Capricorn season, navigating the mountain and navigating our feelings. And then Pluto and Aquarius, okay? Pluto now rules Scorpio, bringing those feelings up, okay, into Aquarius, which is thought, right? Which is the cosmos, which is the universe, right? The mind. But if it's the heart, if we're thinking with our heart, then that's how we're thinking. This is the emotional intelligence. So I think that's it. Please go check out my website, like and subscribe, all that stuff are here too. Welcome if I don't see you before. the 31st. Enjoy the last couple days of 2024. Welcome the Hermit. Welcome the light, right? Welcome yourself. Work with the Merkaba if you want to. Look it up. There's lots of meditations with that. And let's welcome emotional intelligence and let's seriously welcome endings. Let things end, my friends. That North Node moving into Pisces, endings and beginnings, endings and beginnings. So, all right, you guys have a great and prosperous new year, and I'll see you in 2025.